Hello and hello and welcome to Department of Collegiate and Technical Education, Government of Karnataka, lecture series on subjects microwave and antennas. This is the first module and the session 7. This session begins with the concept of impedance matching and single stub matching technique. This session gives an idea of what is impedance matching, why it is required, what is its importance, and how this stub matching is done in a lossless line, and which are the different types. And in that, for your syllabus, single stub matching is going to explain in detail. And we will see what are the disadvantages of single stub matching and why we go for double stub matching. But the detail of double stub matching is not covered in this syllabus. And some important questions we will see that is going to appear in the examination. Let us see what is this impedance matching. See, you know the basic concepts of transmission line. As transmission line transmits from our power from one end to the other end. When the other end is connected with the load, so the basic job of this transmission line is to transmit the power to the load, entire power to the load. If that, what should be the condition of the load so that it will receive the maximum power which is coming to the transmission line. So in order to transfer maximum power to the subsequent circuit, impedance matching is must. So as for the maximum power transfer theorem, we know that if the impedance is having the impedance of the load is matched with the impedance of the circuit, the maximum power will be transferred. Similarly, so that condition we call it as an impedance matching. Otherwise, if that condition is not satisfied, so the reflections from load will occur and power will be wasted. So when the power is wasted, definitely there is a not that much efficiency of transmission is achieved, or there is a reduction in the transmission efficiency. So the overall idea of this transmission, the principle behind this impedance matching can put in single word like in a mismatch impedance, the reactive component should be cancelled and the real part should be transferred into Z. The reactive component should cancel the JXL part and that real part should remain, and that should be transferred to the Z0, where Z0 is the characteristic impedance of the transmission line. So the basic idea is that if this reactive component is cancelled, then we are going to achieve definitely the impedance matching condition. So let us see the basic concepts of this impedance matching, are the conditions for this impedance matching. So through the simple circuit, if you look at the simple circuit, it is having the generator voltage, some generator resistance. So this is the sending voltage. S is the sending voltage value and IS is the sending current value. This is the transmission line which is ended with ZL, which is a load, which is having VL as a load voltage and IL as the load current. And this VR is the reflected voltage. The sending voltage, reflected voltage. So the sending end parameters are V of 0, that is V of S, that is your sending voltage. I of 0 is equal to I of S, which is a sending current. Load end parameters, which is V of L, that is load voltage, which is nothing but a reflected voltage, and I of L, that is load current, which is nothing but IR, that is reflected current. So let us assume this transmission line is terminated with a ZL impedance, which is can be split in, which is a complex quantity which can be split as RL into JXL. So this is the load impedance which is connected, at the end of the transmission. With respect to this characteristic impedance and reflected voltage, reflected current, so we can define this Vs, that is sending voltage, as a VR cos beta L plus J IR Z naught sin beta L. Similarly, Is is given as IR cos beta L plus J VR by Z naught into sin beta L. Whereas this L represents the length of the transmission. So at any point you can take, the L is the length of the total length of the transmission line, where Z naught is the characteristic impedance of the transmission line. IR is the reflected current, VR is the reflected voltage. So with respect to this IR and VR, so it's Z naught, we are going to express this Vs and Is in this equation 1 and equation 2. So if that equation magnitude is taken, so since it is having a real part and imaginary part, so magnitude into root of uh, a square plus b square. Suppose if a plus ib is the complex number, so its magnitude will be root of a square plus b square. In that, using that equation, if you saw, put this Vs and Is in these equations, so you get magnitude of Vs is equal to Vr magnitude into cos beta L plus Z naught XL divided by ZL square into sin beta L whole square plus Z naught RL divided by ZL square into sin beta L whole square whole to the power of 1 by 2 whole equation. In similar fashion, we are writing Is as magnitude of this Is as magnitude of IR cos beta L plus XL divided by Z naught into sin beta L whole square plus RL divided by Z naught into sin beta L whole square whole to the power of root of this value. So that equation, whatever there, that Is and Vs is going to represent in terms of, since it's a complex number, they're representing it in terms of, splitting it in terms of magnitude. So the basic idea here is I am going to substitute some of the values here. Like as I said, the basic principle of this matching will relies on cancellation of the reactive parts, reactance parts, right? So keeping that in mind, if I substitute this XL is equal to 0 and this RL and ZL is equal to Z0, because I told in the beginning itself, I need to convert the I need to cancel the reactive parts, and I need to convert all the resistance or impedances into Z0. So keeping that idea, so I'll put XL is equal to 0 and RL and ZL is equal to Z0. If I substitute these values in this above expression, in this particular expressions, so then what happens? Conclude that the line is matched to produce uniform magnitude of voltage and current throughout the line. So this shows that the reactive component of the mismatch should be cancelled by suitable elements, and the real part of the mismatched impedance should be transferred to Z0. So this is the basic idea of matched condition. So let us see that stub matching in lossless line. For a lossless line of length L, can have a wide range of inductive and capacitive reactance. Here what happens when I take a L as a length of the line, wide range of the there will be a inductive and the capacitive reactance which is distributed along the line. So those two along the length of the line, so the impedance of this open circuit line and the impedance of the short circuit line, so can be given as a function of cos beta L and tan beta L respectively. That is, the impedance of an open circuit line is given as a function of cot beta L, and the impedance of short circuit line is given as a function of tan beta L. So these two variations is shown in the figure. So that is whether it were taken an open circuit line or short circuit line. So you can see that. So these things are open circuit, and this is short circuit. So this open circuit is a function of cot beta L. The short circuit is a function of tan beta L. That means whenever you have a zero, cot 0, you know that it is maximum. And whenever it is pi, it is infinity. If cot beta L is pi, so this is infinity. So from infinity to 0, infinity to this minus infinity to plus infinity, it will actually, sorry. So the cot pi by 2 is 0. So this is your cot pi as well as cot 0. So that is going to be minus infinity to plus. So it is varying from minus infinity to plus infinity with 0 value at pi by 2. So this is the condition of open circuit. Similarly, in short circuit, when cot tan 0 is 0, tan 90 is infinity. Similarly, so it is varying from 0 to infinity. So you can see that this is varying from 0 to infinity. So in this fashion, there is a variation of your impedance of short circuit and open circuit. By choosing proper length of open circuit or short circuit length, any value of reactance can be obtained. This is what I'm see by choosing a proper length, by choosing a proper length, because this graph what it shows with respect to length, the reactance and the reactance is drawn with respect to length. So because with respect to length we have drawn it, so we can choose a proper value of reactance, any value of reactance, by taking a proper length of either it's an open circuit or short circuit. So this additional length what we take at any value of the reactance, we call this as a stub. We call this as a stub. So the short circuited section, so this short circuited section of transmission line, when we use it as a reactive element, the impedance matching, that means we will take it as an opposite value. See, the load is connected, it is having some reactance, that opposite to that reactance, we will take that small piece of length, so that we call it as a stub. And that this process, using this stub, I am going to cancel that reactance. So that method is called as stub matching. So principles involved are general in natural and may be applied to any transmission system by substituting suitable either shunt or series reactive elements of the transmission line depending upon the problem given or situation. So by taking this short piece, I can match the transmission line. So that is what called stub matching technique. So that is given, that is explained through this diagram. So let us assume a pure conductive load. This is YL is equal to G is matched by using a single stub. This is the stub what we connected. You can see this. This is the stub which is having some length L. L naught is the length, stub length, and D naught is the distance from load which is connected. So these are the two important parameters or designing aspects of any stub what we take. One is the distance from the load to the point where we are going to connect a stub, and what length of the stub should be taken so that the reactance of this will be the load will be the negative for this. So that will be cancelling out. So that is explained here. Let a pure conductive load YL is equal to G is to match via using single stub. Then the stub impedance is in parallel with the load impedance as shown in this figure. This is just a simple diagram which explains how we are going to fix the stub in front of the nearby that particular load what we are taken. Now, at some point, a distance, as I told D naught from the load, the normalized input admittance is 1 plus J beta. So this is at some point D naught what we take. At this point, a stub with normalized input susceptance J beta is connected across the line. So this input admittance value what we have taken, definitely there should be input susceptance value, because these two should cancel out. When I consider this at some particular distance D, so these two cancel out. Finally, I left with Vn is equal to 1. The stub can be open circuit or short circuit. As I showed, reactance can be cancelled whether it is open circuit or short circuit, both having some reactance with respect to their particular nature. So it depends on us to choose whether open circuit or short circuit. Using both, it can be stub matching can be achieved. That's open circuit or short circuit. The short-circuited stub is most commonly used version of two wire lines, coaxial line and waveguides because of the easy in adjustment and better mechanical rigidity. Because of these two reasons. One is better mechanical rigidity and other is easy in adjustment, where generally we go for what is called a short-circuited stub. Short-circuited stub. Now, the position of D naught, this is very important. The aspect, this position of D naught, that is D naught is the distance from the load to the point where we are going to connect a stub. That is your D naught. So that D naught is given by D naught is equal to lambda divided by 4 pi cos inverse of G bar minus 1 divided by G bar plus 1. Assuming pure conductive load. So we are assumed a pure conductive load. So the required length of L naught, that is very important. That the one formula we see for the D naught and other empirical formula for the L naught of a short circuit stub is given as input susceptance J beta G bar. It is given by L naught is equal to lambda divided by 2 pi tan inverse of root G divided by 1 minus G. Now where the sign of G bar is chosen so as to give correct sign for B bar. The condition is that if this D naught is between 0 and lambda by 4, then positive square root is used. And if this value is between lambda 4 and lambda 2, negative square root is used. Because this the sign is very important for this for the substitution part. But instead of G naught, we go for some other parameters. In terms of other parameters, we are trying to explain this YL. When load YL is complex, then firstly the position of voltage minima from the load is located. If YL is complex, what they will do? Then firstly the position of voltage minima from the load is calculated. At this point, the reflection coefficient is negative, real quantity, and the input admittance is pure real. So this is very important. At this point, so the point where the minima value is there, this one, voltage minima is identified. At this point, the reflection coefficient is negative because there is no reflection because you are choosing a minimum value of voltage V naught. Coefficient is negative, negative it is. So that's why it is a negative real quantity and the input admittance is pure here. So you know that Yn is equal to 1 by gamma divided by 1 plus gamma, or this can be expressed in terms of rho also, 1 plus rho divided by 1 minus rho. That parameter is nothing but S. That is the standing wave ratio of the line. Now let this D naught, whatever the value we choose, be the distance from this voltage minima. This is the voltage minima value which is chosen. So this D naught is the distance from this voltage minimum to the point where this point where your Yn is 1 plus J beta. So now at this position we are putting a stub, because this 4 figure shows location of stub relating to voltage minima. This is voltage minima. The expression for D naught and N naught can be found by replacing G bar by S. Now we are replacing this G bar by S in expression. So it is D naught is equal to lambda by 4 pi cos inverse of S minus 1 divided by S plus lambda. Similarly, L naught is equal to lambda by 2 pi tan inverse of root S divided by S minus 1. We are replacing G bar by S. So S is the standing wave ratio. So I am looking this one. G naught and L naught in terms of standing wave ratio. The stub, the shunt stub is most suitable for coaxial line as it is easy to connect. For the coax, especially for the coaxial line, we are connecting shunt type of stub. Position of voltage minima, input impedance Zn is equal to 1 by S. At some position D naught, definitely from this point Zn is equal to 1 plus or minus Jx. By connecting a stub with a normalized input impedance of minus R plus Jx in series with the line, at this point, definitely the result in input impedance is reduced to unity and match condition can be obtained. Here we are taking the reverse of this part. It's a plus R minus Jx, that we are taking a minus R plus Jx at the point from that voltage minimum. Now the position of D naught for series stub is given by, so D naught is equal to lambda by 4 pi cos inverse of S minus 1 divided by S plus 1. The length of series stub L naught is given by L naught is equal to lambda by 2 pi tan inverse of root S divided by S minus 1. So it is expressed in terms of S. So now we'll just highlight on how the series stub is connected. Whatever we see, it's a stub or it is a shunt stub, what we shown in the previous slides. In the shunt stub is connected between the 2 points, this point as well as up to one more point in here. But now the series stub is connected seriously in continuation with the transmission line. So that is series one. So here also V minimum value is identified. It is y minus n and Zn is 1 plus j xn. So T naught is distance from V minimum to the point where the stub is going to connect, and L naught is the length of the stub. L naught, so this L naught is the length of the stub, but D naught is the distance of the stub. The series stub is difficult to build as compared to the shunt stub. As I said, it is difficult to build or coaxial line, but it is convenient for waveguide and strip line circuit. So we would use this one mainly for the waveguides and strip line circuit, not for the coaxial line. So for coaxial line, shunt type of stub is going to use what we explained in the previous. So now this is a single stub. So you can make out that we are using only single stub here. This is the only single stub. This is the only single stub. So there is a possibility of connecting one more stub, which is called double stub, which having some advantages. So this disadvantage of single stub is that for any load, a new stub position is required. For all the load, for if the load changes, definitely we require one more position. So this position changing keeps on moves with the load variations. And also the exact position of stub is practically difficult to identify. It is very difficult to identify the exact position. So an approximation position is done and it is tuned. So because of this, difficulties can overcome using double stub matching. That is the later sections. You need to attend these questions. Where is why impedance matching is required? Discuss the condition for impedance matching. With the necessary diagram, explain single stub matching. So you need to explain the concept of this single stub matching, that is design concepts. Basically, when I say it is explanation of single stub matching, you need to concentrate on L naught and D naught design parameter. Whereas L naught is the distance of the stub and D naught is the distance from the load to the point where we are going to connect the stub. Thank you.